I didn't allow this moment to come earlier, not because you weren't ready, but because the full weight of the promise I made to you needed the perfect unveiling. Now is that moment, and I am telling you with urgency, your name is on what is about to be released. You thought I was silent. You believed the delay was rejection. But I was writing a chapter that couldn't be rushed because it would have collapsed under pressure had I given it prematurely. What I have in my hands has your name engraved into it, not written in fading ink, but etched by my authority that no demon, delay, or doubt can erase. The scrolls of heaven have carried this promise while you wept, while you worshipped, while you wrestled silently in your room thinking I wasn't listening. But I was collecting every tear like currency to fund what will now be poured out. I waited because I wanted to show you the difference between what man gives quickly and what I give permanently. If I had allowed it earlier, it would have been touched by wrong hands and misused by wrong spirits, but now it's protected, ready, unstoppable, and irreversible. I didn't forget the cries of that one night when you whispered, "God, is anything good coming for me?" And I responded then, but I waited for now to let you see it. You're not being teased by timing. You're being ushered into a divine appointment where everything I declared over you in secret is being confirmed in public. The seal is broken. The wait is over. The heavens are opening, and what was hidden is now headed directly toward you. Stop doubting and start preparing, because I'm not giving you a glimpse, I'm giving you possession. I didn't speak this to leave you hanging, I preserved it, wrapped in fire and guarded by angels. So when the enemy came close to destroying your belief, I whispered louder in the spirit, "Hold on. It's almost time. That time is here. That hour is now. That promise you gave up on has arrived looking for you, and this time, you will not miss it." Even in the moments when it felt like the silence was too loud and the waiting too long, I was watching, not from a distance, but right beside you with my presence hovering where others only saw your pain. You were never invisible to me, not once, not for a breath. I counted the days where you walked through fire and still held on to me with trembling hands, believing there had to be more, even when evidence was scarce. This is the moment I lift the veil so you can see the truth. I have been orchestrating every delay, every pause, every turn, not to torture you but to synchronize my response with the fullness of what you were born for. The heavens were never ignoring you. They were gathering force behind the scenes, waiting for this appointed time to strike the atmosphere with answers that couldn't be misinterpreted or mistaken. I saw every moment you woke up with questions, but still offered me your surrender. I witnessed the battles you chose not to fight because you trusted I was fighting for you. Nothing you endured has gone to waste. Every trial was a receipt in the spirit realm for the release that is unfolding now. I didn't allow you to be seen by people yet because I was developing a testimony in you that wouldn't be touched by flattery or torn apart by envy. You are not forgotten, you are chosen, carved into the center of my plan with divine precision. Your voice was not ignored. Your whispers reached dimensions you couldn't hear, returning echoes from. You didn't see the movements, but the heavens were trembling as I sent dispatches with the exact provision you've been longing for. This is not compensation, this is fulfillment. I am not giving you something random to comfort your suffering. I'm unveiling exactly what aligns with the promises spoken over your life before your first breath. Your timeline hasn't been lost, it's being accelerated. This hour is a reversal of every narrative that tried to convince you I abandoned you. Watch how quickly I turn the tide. Watch how visibly I align details that only you and I know about. Watch how everything that attempted to block you begins to collapse under the weight of my glory. I have not been passive, I have been preparing a stage where the spotlight is not just for your breakthrough, but for my name to be glorified through it. You cried, "Where are you, Lord?" And I replied, through hidden protection, secret provision, silent strength, and now through undeniable evidence. This is not random. This is not coincidence. This is my intentional answer. I'm not stepping in late, I'm arriving precisely when the tables are set. The enemies are watching, and your strength has been purified enough to carry what I'm placing into your hands. You are seen. You are loved. You are in the center of a supernatural turnaround that cannot be delayed. denied, or destroyed. You didn't miss it. You didn't disqualify yourself. This right now is what I had in mind when I told you to trust me. What you believed was over has only been waiting for my signal to reopen, and now that the time has aligned with heaven's decree, I am personally intervening to unseal what has been locked away from your reach. I am not merely giving you back what was denied, I am reopening pathways with an authority that overrides natural restriction. There were entry points that felt permanently sealed, not because you lacked effort or desire, but because I was protecting you from walking into something that would have wounded you in ways you weren't prepared to recover from. But the season has changed. The climate has shifted. And now, the doors that once rejected you are responding to the command of the one who holds every key in existence. I never told you no, I told you not yet, and now I'm announcing yes with the weight of heaven behind it. This isn't about trying again, it's about stepping into what has already been unlocked while you were healing. There are gates that wouldn't recognize you before because you were covered in battles, but now they will swing wide open because I've reintroduced you in the spirit with a new robe of access. What was closed due to timing is now yielding because of maturity. You're not the same person who knocked before. You carry authority now. You carry evidence now. You carry alignment now. And that's why the locks are giving way without resistance. I've spoken to the doors, and they recognize my voice. They are responding to my call, not man's opinion. Even the barriers created by generational curses and invisible blockages are crumbling because my hand is stretched out to you, and I'm not allowing anything to interfere with what I've assigned to your life. You prayed for an opportunity, but I'm giving you territory. You asked for one door, I'm opening many. You hope for a chance, I'm releasing a sequence. Nothing will be able to hold back the divine access I'm granting, because I've cleared every legal ground the enemy tried to stand on. This is not a coincidence. This is an announcement from the courts of heaven. Your entry has been approved, and the resistance has been silenced. Watch as approvals come from places you never even considered. Watch how rapidly the atmosphere shifts once you step where I've directed. I'm not reviving old things that expired, I'm activating promises that were waiting for your appointed moment. And this is it. This is your appointed moment. The hinges are coming loose, the bolts are disintegrating, and the permissions you need are being stamped in the spirit and in the natural. Do not hesitate when you feel the opening. I've gone before you to ensure what's behind the door is prepared to receive you. You won't find confusion, you'll find clarity. You won't meet opposition, you will meet favor. You won't have to prove your worth. The atmosphere will already know you were sent. What once denied you will now assist you. What once ignored you will now acknowledge you. And what once resisted you will now celebrate you. Not because it changed it, but because you've been transformed, and my hand has lifted the veil from every locked gate. Step forward, not as a beggar but as my beloved. This isn't a breakthrough you fought for, it's a manifestation I promised and preserved until this very hour. Move when I nudge you. Speak when I stir you. Walk when I prompt you. Because now, I'm unblocking what looked impossible, and you will not miss what's been reserved only for you. This next position you are about to walk into isn't something you applied for, competed for, or even anticipated. It's the exact space I designed with your name embedded into its foundation. And now I am relocating you into that divine appointment without needing you to strive for it. There's been movement happening all around you that you couldn't see, doors closing for others, shifts happening in structures, quiet realignments in systems, and in the background of it all, I've been creating a gap that only your voice, your spirit, your obedience could fill. You've been stretched, pressed, and reshaped not as punishment but as preparation, because what I'm placing on your shoulders now is not light, it is holy. This isn't about being seen or promoted, it's about being planted, where your roots will no longer be disturbed by storms sent to uproot your peace. I'm assigning you to a location in life that holds the next chapter of your testimony, a sacred space not influenced by public opinion but governed by my instruction. You wondered why nothing familiar was working anymore, why past comforts no longer satisfied, why doors you used to depend on suddenly became unresponsive. It's because I was pulling you out of the ordinary and into the atmosphere where destiny breathes. You are not being displaced, you are being positioned. You're not wandering, you're being redirected with divine precision. And this space I'm placing you in cannot be contaminated by the past, because I've already cleansed the foundation. It doesn't look like what you pictured, but it carries everything I promised. I've removed personalities, distractions, and patterns that would have hindered the flow of what I'm about to do in you. You won't have to compromise to stay there. You won't have to shrink to fit in. You won't have to mimic anyone to be accepted. This assignment doesn't demand perfection, it demands presence. And you have learned to abide in me, even when nothing made sense. Now I am shifting you not just geographically or professionally, but spiritually into clarity, into authority, into favor that follows obedience. Every misstep you thought disqualified you has actually become the evidence of how I carried you to this threshold. The seat wasn't empty by accident, it was hidden until your maturity aligned with my timing. This environment will reject your voice. This season won't tolerate your silence. I am placing you where your oil will be recognized, your purity will be honored, and your yes will activate things beyond your imagination. Do not be afraid of this elevation. It's not too big for you. You were molded for it. You've been equipped by fire, not by fame. And that's why no one else can occupy what I've set apart for you. I am not replacing someone else to make room for you. I created a space no one else could survive in but you. And now I'm leading you into it, not to impress others, but to release the weight of my glory through your life. The scenery will shift. The atmosphere will change. Responsibilities will increase. But so will the grace, the strength, the clarity, and the favor. Walk into it with confidence, knowing I am not sending you alone, I'm going with you, and nothing will shake what I've settled. You did endure that long silence for nothing. Every hour you felt suspended between faith and fear, when the clock kept moving but nothing changed in your surroundings. I was calibrating everything down to the final second so that when this answer arrived, it wouldn't be partial, delayed, or intercepted. The stillness you hated was not absence, it was orchestration. I was not ignoring your cries, I was answering them in a way that would dismantle every force that ever dared to come against you. The weight broke something inside you that pride could never reach. It softened the hidden places, taught you how to breathe without applause, how to keep walking without explanations, how to trust me when nothing around you supported your belief. And now that you've passed through that sacred proving ground, I am not only sending the answer, I am releasing it with the full backing of heaven's power. What's coming for you isn't simply a reward for waiting. It's the revelation of my intention that was held in the spirit until your endurance and surrender aligned at once. Do not believe for a second that you were forgotten. No, you were being prepared for something weightier than a quick solution. I didn't let it happen earlier because it wouldn't have carried the impact I wanted it to have on you and those watching your journey. I waited, not because I doubted you, but because I had to build the path where this answer could safely arrive without being stolen or misunderstood. Now, the heavens are opening, and what I've held back for your protection is being transferred to your hands, not just spiritually, but visibly. You are about to see the physical manifestation of what you've only carried in prayer. It's going to interrupt your routine. It's going to silence every mocking voice. It's going to shift the way even you see yourself, because the size of this answer will reflect the magnitude of your trust. Others thought your time had expired, but I was holding the timeline. What they called a delay, I called divine precision. What they saw as a dead end, I knew was a concealed door. This is not a minor breakthrough. This is a multiplied unfolding. Things you forgot you even asked for are being included in this response. Conversations you thought were closed are about to be reopened with favor. Territories you once walked through discouraged are now responding to your presence with honor. You will not have to chase it, it's been released to pursue you. Watch how it finds you in unexpected ways. Watch how what you need appears without stress, without striving, without manipulation. I am proving through this next wave of fulfillment that I never waste pain, I never delay without a purpose, and I never withhold what I've promised. The answer isn't just on the way, it has already left heaven, escorted by angels, shielded from sabotage, and mark for delivery to your life. Get ready. Be still in your spirit. Make room in your expectation, because when it reaches you, you will know without question that it could only have come from me. What seems suspended in uncertainty has already been finalized by my decree, long before you saw any outward movement. While you were measuring progress by what didn't shift in the visible realm, I had already written the final line in the spiritual record concerning that matter. You assumed it was stuck, but I had already labeled it as finished. I didn't consult your calendar, nor did I bow to the timelines of people around you. I moved according to eternal timing, not temporary tension. And now, I am revealing to you what I had already signed off in heaven, a completion you couldn't detect while waiting, but one that has been sealed by my hand with authority no one can overturn. That relationship that wore you down, the season that drained your spirit, the pattern that kept repeating in your life, it's over. Not just emotionally, not just circumstantially. It is spiritually terminated. And once I shut something in the spiritual realm, nothing on earth can reopen it. You are not walking in circles anymore. You are stepping out of loops that exhausted your hope and into a path that has been cleared by finality. The enemy tried to convince you it was a delay, hoping you'd misinterpret my silence as indecision, but I wasn't hesitating. I was completing. Quietly. Perfectly. Permanently. I was ending things you didn't know how to walk away from. I was cutting ties that your soul had grown accustomed to. I was finishing processes that were too tangled for you to untie. What looked like an activity was my precision at work. Now that the spiritual verdict has been rendered, the physical realm will soon reflect what I finalized. Watch how people who were once attached to your destiny begin to fade without conflict. Watch how desires you used to chase lose their pull on your heart. Watch how suddenly you feel released from burdens that used to weigh you down every morning. That's not coincidence, that's completion manifesting. You're not grieving a loss, you're awakening to my closure. I signed the papers. I've removed the residue. I've replaced the old burden with fresh vision. You will no longer be tormented by what did move when you prayed, because now you will see it was already wrapped up behind the scenes. No further warfare is required for this area, it's been handled. No more prayers of desperation are needed, it's done. Your part was to trust me when the answers weren't visible. My part was to finish it before you even realized the battle had ended. That's what I've done. I don't need your understanding for me to execute my plan. I just need your surrender. And you gave that, even when you didn't feel strong. So now I'm showing you what completed looks like, not just in outcome, but in atmosphere. You'll sense it when you wake up. You'll feel the weight gone. You'll know that this isn't another temporary relief, it's a permanent release. I've completed the chapter, and no one has the pen to rewrite it. Stand in this moment with full assurance that you've stepped out of waiting and into fulfillment. What was delayed is no longer pending, it's finished. Every divine detail I have spoken over your life remains untouched by expiration, unaffected by delay, and immune to human interference. What I wrote concerning you was not a suggestion. It was a decree sealed in my authority and stamped with a permanence that no force in this world or the next can reverse. You've been conditioned to believe that if too much time passes, the promise weakens, but I do not operate under the pressure of passing days or fading opportunities. I live outside time, and when I authored your destiny, I did so from a realm that is not ruled by clocks, calendars, or critics. So when you feel like it's too late, understand this. I am not late. I am timeless. And what I said about you still holds the same power today that it did the moment I spoke it into existence. Every delay you faced did not alter the outcome, it refined the vessel. Every moment you spent in stillness, doubting whether anything would come of your obedience, I was reinforcing the infrastructure of your calling to carry the magnitude of what's next. You worried that your mistakes erased your eligibility. But grace doesn't wear off. Favor doesn't forget. And my word doesn't crumble under the weight of your missteps. I saw them. I knew them. And still, I wrote your story with full knowledge of your weaknesses. That's why no opposition can revoke it. No accusation can edit it, and no season can suppress it. What I have written will unfold, not because of your perfection, but because of my sovereignty. I've preserved your purpose through storms that were sent to bury you. I've protected your name in rooms you've never entered. I've nurtured your dreams in silence, while others mocked your stillness. And now, I am breathing again on every word I declared over you, resurrecting what you considered overgrown, obsolete, and unreachable. I have not changed my mind. The vision is not outdated. The assignment is not disqualified. The path may look unfamiliar, but the destination remains unchanging. You must stop measuring my promises through the lens of delay. Time is a tool in my hand, not a threat to my power. I can redeem what was lost, compress what was extended, and accelerate what was slow. One moment with me can outweigh 10 years of stagnation. One word from me can override decades of confusion. One move of my spirit can realign every wrong turn. I do not need favorable conditions to fulfill what I promised. I only need your continued agreement, even in the dark. And you held on. You've dared to believe in the quiet. You've stood on my whispers when others demanded proof. That's why I'm honoring your posture, not your performance. I've watched how you kept returning to me when all you had was uncertainty. And now I'm reminding you, nothing can cancel what I declared. Not the opinions of others. Not the absence of progress. Not the weight of your past. And certainly not the time that has passed. My word endures. My plans prevail. My promise stands unshaken, unedited, and unstoppable. It ready to see chapters unfold that you thought were permanently closed. I'm bringing you back into alignment with what always belonged to you, and no delay can hold back what I have released by my hand. While you were focused on surviving the weight pressing down on your spirit, I was dismantling every invisible structure built to hold you hostage. You couldn't see the full war waged against your advancement because much of it was buried in spiritual layers, cloaked in patterns that looked ordinary, fatigue that had no explanation, doors that stayed shut without reason, relationships that quietly drained your confidence, thoughts that whispered defeat even in moments of hope. But I never left you to fight it alone. I stepped into battles you didn't have the strength to recognize, let alone confront. I confronted forces that traced back through generation cycles that lived in your bloodline, patterns embedded in the history before you, attacks launched through agreements you never made but still suffered from. These weren't small obstacles. These were rooted barriers, masked as delay but fueled by ancient resistance. And I broke them. I didn't negotiate. I didn't postpone. I shattered them with finality. What was planted to hinder your progress has been overruled by my authority. Chains that were passed down as if they belonged to you have now been obliterated by my word. You are not repeating history, you are disrupting it. You are not reliving the pain of those before you, you are reversing the verdict. You felt stuck because resistance isn't always loud. Sometimes it wears the disguise of normalcy, of routine, of maybe this is just how life is for me. But I never created you to settle in the shadows of suppression. I formed you to rise beyond every unseen force that tried to convince you otherwise. And now that I've broken through the unseen, the visible will begin to shift. You'll begin to notice freedom in areas you never thought would change. Conversations that used to spiral into anxiety will dissolve in peace. Spaces where you always felt invisible will begin to recognize your presence. You'll start to breathe again, not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally, mentally. The walls that closed in are collapsing. The resistance that dulled your clarity is being removed. I went ahead of you and cleared the battlefield so that you could walk freely into what's next without dragging old chains into new chapters. This is more than a breakthrough, it's a severing. I've disconnected you from the networks of bondage that tried to keep you loyal to survival. You don't owe anything to the place that tried to bury your destiny. You don't have to keep making peace with strongholds that silently choked your momentum. I've issued a verdict in heaven that cannot be appealed. The resistance is broken. You're not stuck, you're stepping into ease. Not ease born of comfort, but of divine clearing. You'll find that what once resisted you will now respond to your voice, not because it suddenly changed, but because the atmosphere shifted. I fought for Agitation. I warred for your freedom, and I won. Not just for a moment, but permanently. This release didn't come cheap, it cost blood. But I paid it in full so that no one could claim ownership over your life but me. Walk forward without looking over your shoulder. The opposition that tormented your progress had been silenced. The territory that once mocked your hope is now under divine possession. You will no longer question if you're allowed to move forward. You'll feel my push, my wind, my presence clearing the way. The battle behind the veil is over. The resistance is broken. Now step into the evidence of what I've already won for you. Everything that tried to break you apart, every night you spent wrestling in silence, and every tear that slid down your face when no one was watching, it wasn't wasted. That conflict wasn't the end. It was the announcement. The pressure you felt was not meant to crush you, but to provoke what I had hidden inside you for such a time as this. The battle you endured wasn't proof of abandonment, it was evidence that something greater had been activated. You thought you were being undone, but in truth, the miracle was being awakened inside the warfare. This wasn't just hardship, it was holy agitation. It stirred what was dormant. It forced out what needed to break. It peeled away every layer that made you rely on your own strength so that you could finally see what happens when I carry you. The shaking wasn't random, it had purpose embedded deep in every difficult moment. The storm was permitted not to harm you, but to open the path that had been concealed. Because of what you endured, the atmosphere has shifted. The pain you pushed through released something from heaven that could not be accessed any other way. You thought you were losing, but in the spirit realm, you were gaining more than your eyes could register. While you stood your ground in agony, the angels were dispatched with blueprints of the miracle I had already spoken. What hurt you is now bowing to what I'm about to do through you. The collapse that left you breathless has now cleared the space for divine construction. The places that felt like ruins are about to echo with my glory. That argument, that betrayal, that unexpected collapse, it shook the ground beneath you. But now the ground has been purified. What comes next isn't just restoration, it's redemption with interest. Because you endured with your faith intact, I am releasing acceleration. No more crawling forward with fear. You're about to leap. You're about to see manifestation that will make every previous loss make sense. You thought you were barely surviving, but in truth, you were birthing. A warfare signaled the nearness of fulfillment. And now that the battle has accomplished its assignment, the miracle has been triggered. Not next week. Not next year. Now, things are moving that you don't even know were jammed. Approvals are being released. Conversations are shifting in rooms you haven't stepped into yet. The momentum that seemed lost is being revived. You'll look back and realize it was never about surviving, it was about stepping into what could only emerge through fire. The battle didn't break you, it pushed you into the realm where miracles breathe. And now, because you didn't give up, the atmosphere is pregnant with delivery. You're not waiting anymore, you're transitioning. You're not just recovering, you're receiving. A miracle that follows isn't coming as a small sign, it's coming to declare to everything and everyone that what tried to destroy you only accelerated your promise. You'll see it, you'll hold it, and it will carry the weight of every tear you ever cried during the shaking. This is not just your time, this is your turning. While voices around you were forming conclusions from limited sight, I was constructing a scene they could never predict. They measured your future based on fragments, unaware that I never give the full picture until the unveiling. They assumed the delay meant defeat. They whispered opinions, not realizing that their words were sowing the very atmosphere I would flip for your victory. I heard it all. Every dismissive comment, every subtle mockery, every time your name was used as a punchline behind closed doors. They thought your silence was weakness, but I was preserving your strength for a greater stage. And now, the season has come where I will not only silence the noise, I will seat you in front of it. I'm not preparing a corner to hide you, and I'm building a table that places you at the center of what I've been planning all along. This isn't for revenge. This is for revelation. I am not elevating you to retaliate, I'm lifting you to reveal my fingerprints all over your life. What they dismissed as insignificant, I am about to spotlight with brilliance that only heaven can explain. I didn't understand your tears because they couldn't see the covenant. They didn't value your endurance because they never knew what it cost. But I saw it all. And now I'm dressing the table, setting every detail in divine order, and calling witnesses not to humiliate them but to humble them. They will have to watch what they never believed was possible. And not only watch, they will see your grace, your peace, your unwavering love, and they will know it was me all along. I'm not just proving a point, I'm establishing a legacy. I'm confirming that those who wait on me, those who keep their hearts clean even in misunderstanding, those who refuse to curse back, will always walk into fullness. You never needed to defend yourself. That's why I kept your name in rooms your feet never touched. That's why I shielded you when they tried to gather evidence against you. They had opinions. I had plans. And now, plans outweigh perception. What I'm unfolding will speak louder than every judgment passed against you. They will see the fruit of what they thought was failure. They will witness stability where they predicted collapse. And you, my child, will sit with peace that doesn't demand applause. Because you didn't endure for a spotlight, you endured for my presence. You didn't remain silent for approval, you remained anchored in trust. And now I'm honoring that. The table I'm preparing has more than just provision, it holds vindication, fulfillment, overflow, and a testimony written in pure gold. You won't have to explain how it happened. The evidence will be undeniable. They will see favor they can't discredit. They'll observe joy they can't trace. They'll encounter fruit that couldn't have come from anything natural. And I will get the glory, not just through what I give you, but through the way you carry it. Stay seated. Stay surrendered. The table is being finalized, and every voice that tried to define you before the manifestation will soon witness the truth I've written about you since the beginning. Everything you placed in my hands when no one was watching, those quiet sacrifices, the hidden decisions, the silent letting go, I have not only seen them, I have multiplied them beyond what your natural mind could have predicted. You didn't do it for recognition. You didn't do it for applause. You obeyed me even when it cost you comfort, reputation, and certainty. You laid down your preferences when it would have been easier to justify your desires. And while the world celebrated louder steps, I honored your quiet obedience. You walked away from what looked good because you trusted me for what was right. And now, what you gave up in faith has been transformed into a harvest that is returning to you in forms you didn't expect. I was never taking from you, I was preparing to return it, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Not as compensation, but as covenant. The surrender you made when it hurt the most carried a fragrance in heaven that triggered acceleration. What others clung to, you released. What others chased, you placed at my feet. And for that, I'm not just returning what you let go, I'm multiplying it. Not in the same shape, not in the same form, but in dimensions far beyond what you originally held. That relationship you walked away from, the opportunity you didn't pursue because you knew it wasn't my voice, the comfort you rejected because it dulled your discernment, all of it became seed. And now the earth is responding to what you buried in faith. Resources are being released. Doors are unlocking. Favor is being assigned. Not because you performed perfectly, but because you trusted me when it didn't make sense. That trust didn't evaporate into the air, it was planted into the soil of my purpose. And I never allow divine seed to go unwatered. It has been maturing in the unseen, and now I'm releasing it into your now. What you thought you lost is about to meet you again in multiplied form. The purity of your surrender protected the scale of your return. If I had released it prematurely, it would have crumbled. But you waited. You held the posture of yieldedness when everything in you wanted to take back control. And now I'm taking what you gave and expanding it. What was small in your hands is becoming overflow in mine. What was quiet in your heart is becoming loud in your life. You didn't know the magnitude of what you were doing when you said yes, but heaven did. That single act of letting go triggered movements in the spirit realm that have been aligning everything in your future. Now the time has come for you to see what multiplied surrender looks like in tangible form. This is not the season of allos, it's the season of abundance. And it all started when you trusted me enough to place what mattered most into my hands, without needing a full explanation. Get ready to receive in ways that will stun even your own faith. The field is ripe. The harvest is moving. The return is coming. Because what you gave up in secret is now echoing in heaven with the sound of multiplication. Every thought you turned into a whisper, every plea you couldn't articulate fully, every burden that sat in your chest with no words to release, it all reached me. And not a single cry, not one sigh of exhaustion, not one internal prayer passed me by. You may not remember them all, but I do. I held each one close to my heart, storing them in the vaults of eternity until the exact moment they were to be activated. You assumed that the words you couldn't say out loud were forgotten in the chaos of life. But heaven heard what your lips couldn't form. When you looked up with weary eyes and didn't know what to say, your spirit still spoke and I responded. Your knees touched the floor while your soul wrestled for clarity, and even then, I gathered what you were offering. Every time you paused and simply said, "Help," it sent waves through dimensions unseen. You thought it was small, but I saw the weight behind it. The prayers you uttered in your most vulnerable moments, the ones drenched in tears, frustration, and surrender, those are the ones I move on with swiftness and care. Nothing is lost. The intercessions that came from your brokenness are now converging with my timing, and I am responding with authority that overrides delay. You won't need to remember what you asked for in detail, because I'm bringing answers that exceed the limitations of your own expectations. I didn't require eloquence, I required honesty. And that's what you gave me, even in weakness. The urgency in your spirit was enough to pierce through every layer of silence. Now, I am releasing from the heavens what was held until this appointed moment. The cries you made while driving alone, the moments you sat in silence while everyone else thought you were fine, the words you whispered in the dark when fear gripped your heart, I documented them all. And I am acting not just out of mercy but out of deep affection. My love for you translates even the groans you couldn't understand. Your vulnerability created a sound that moved the courts of heaven. And now the gavel has struck judgment in your favor. Things are shifting not because you fought louder, but because you trusted deeper. What I'm releasing is tied to those unseen petitions. You will begin to witness solutions that feel like they read your mind, but they didn't come from your thoughts. They came from those surrendered moments when you couldn't do anything but lean into me. Those inner prayers were never overlooked. They were simply being aligned with the landscape I was preparing. Timing wasn't denial. It was coordination. You'll soon discover that my memory is perfect. Every single utterance, every longing soaked in reverence, every hope that passed through your spirit like a flash, I preserved it. And now I'm honoring what was never shared with anyone but me. You're not waiting for me to hear you, I already did. You're now standing in the season where I respond. Not solely, not vaguely, but with precision, with power, with undeniable clarity. Get ready to see me answer the prayers you thought were too quiet to matter. They mattered. And now I'm moving. Long before you saw even the faintest hint of breakthrough, I had already dispatched angelic forces to go before you, preparing the environment, removing unseen obstructions, and securing the path for what I'm placing into your life. This isn't just a spiritual shift, it's a complete reordering of the space you're stepping into. What looked empty was never abandoned. It was being purified. What felt like silence was actually sacred activity taking place behind the veil. My angels were not idle, they were working through divine instruction to ensure what I'm about to release won't land in a chaotic atmosphere, but in a place made ready through cleansing and alignment. You didn't see the conflict in the unseen realm, but you felt the tension in your spirit. That pressure you couldn't explain. It was the atmosphere responding to the collision between resistance and breakthrough. But I didn't leave you to figure it out alone. I released warring angels to surround the territory, to drive out every lingering remnant of confusion. to disrupt every assignment that had been sent to delay your advancement. There were distractions that looked harmless, patterns that felt familiar, people who appeared helpful, but I saw deeper. I saw what could have polluted the purity of what's coming, and I ordered their removal before your next step. You may have felt the sting of separation. You may have wrestled with uncertainty when doors closed or relationships shifted without warning. But it wasn't sabotage, it was sanctification. I was clearing the clutter so your gift could operate in clarity, so your spirit could discern without distortion, so your blessing would not be entangled with compromise. The angels I've sent are not just observers, they are facilitators of divine order. They've been stationed to dismantle what was never meant to follow you into this new realm. Even now, they're moving through the spaces you're about to enter, preparing contracts, opening the hearts of decision makers, softening systems that once resisted you. Things are being adjusted without your effort, because heaven has already taken ownership of your transition. You won't need to fight for recognition. You won't have to prove your worth. The atmosphere is being shaped to receive you, not the version of you the world tried to reduce, but the version I molded in fire and refined through pressure. Every false voice hath been silenced. Every illegal spirit hath been evicted. The angels I've released are guarding the perimeters of your purpose, ensuring that nothing unassigned has access to your new beginning. What's coming to you is holy, and I protect what is sacred. I will not allow your inheritance to be handled carelessly. That's why I've been so protective. That's why I removed things even before you fully understood their danger. My angels are not just protecting what's yours, they're escorting what's mine into your hands. You are about to see things fall into place without manipulation. You are going to walk into spaces that feel strangely prepared, perfectly timed, supernaturally aligned, and it won't be by chance. It will be the visible evidence of the invisible ministry that has already gone ahead of you. Do not doubt the sudden changes. Do not mourn what was removed. Every adjustment was heaven's strategy. Every shift was part of the divine clean sweep. You didn't lose, and you were cleared. And now that the way is open, what I have promised is already moving toward you. The space has been made. The atmosphere hath been sanctified. And what I said I would do, I am doing now. You came so close to letting it go, not out of rebellion, but out of exhaustion. That hope you once carried with excitement slowly started feeling like a burden, and you began to wonder if you had misunderstood me entirely. I watched as you tried to lay it down, not in pride, but in surrender, tired from believing, worn from waiting, and drained from the silence that followed each prayer. But even in those moments where you loosened your grip, I never let go. I held it for you. I protected the very thing you thought had expired, because I knew this day would come. The promise you shelved, the dream you buried beneath your disappointment, the vision you didn't dare speak of anymore, it's the very thing I'm bringing to the surface now. Not as a memory, but as a manifestation. The thing you thought passed you by is about to knock at your door. Not delayed, not diminished, but delivered in full. You thought others would get there first. You assumed they had more favor, more strength, more access. But I never forgot what I started in you. And while it looked like others were advancing, I was actually preparing to surprise you with the very thing you believed had slipped through your hands. I saw how you fought to keep the hope alive. I saw when your faith wavered, but you chose to worship anyway. You didn't give up entirely, but you came close. And in that nearness to surrender, I drew near to you. I didn't need your perfection, I needed your persistence. Even when you whispered, "Maybe it's not for me," I whispered back, "Wait just a little longer." And now the season of waiting is shifting into fulfillment. The blessing you prayed for in tears, the opportunity you thought was lost to time, the answer you didn't expect to see in this lifetime, I'm placing it first in line. You will witness the redemption of time, the resurrection of vision, and the restoration of joy. You will see how I never wasted your waiting. I was never silent, I was working beneath the surface, aligning pieces, softening hearts, opening avenues, and guarding your portion until the moment it could arrive untouched. What's coming will not look like a second chance, it will look like a first unveiling. I'm not handing you leftovers. I'm presenting you with the original design, refined by your perseverance. The very thing you were prepared to walk away from will be what shows up first. Why? Because I wanted to show you that I don't operate by statistics or logic. I move by faith and promise. I reward trust, especially when it's held through trembling hands and weary nights. What's arriving isn't just a dream fulfilled, it's a reminder that I see the private battles. I honor the silent cries, and I never ignore the faith that continues despite fear. This will be personal. This will be profound. And this will be proof that nothing you surrendered to me was ever dismissed. I held it. I nurtured it. And now I'm returning it, not as a concept, but as a reality that will touch your hands and transform your story. The blessing you almost gave up on is the one I chose to release first because I wanted you to know, beyond all doubt, that I was listening the entire time. Not one wound you carried was ignored. I saw them, all those internal bruises no one asked about, the soul-deep aches you masked with a smile, the silent injuries from battles fought in isolation. I was there when the disappointment cut deeper than expected. I was near when betrayal left marks you never invited. I didn't turn away when you wept alone in rooms where no one noticed you were breaking. Every scar on your heart had been numbered, not to remind you of pain, but to mark you for glory. These were not random injuries, they were prophetic markers. Your others saw weakness, I saw significance. And I'm telling you now, the very areas where you bled are the places I'm about to reveal my power. You thought the damage disqualified you, but those scars became sacred territory where I am planting testimony. You didn't endure to stay wounded. You endured so I could turn what was once a battlefield into a visible stage of my faithfulness. I don't ignore scars, I transform them. I don't erase what shaped you, I anoint it. And now I'm taking what hurt you and using it as undeniable evidence that my hand never left your life. The enemy hoped the wounds would silence you. He assumed the pain would keep you hidden. But instead, those very marks will be your access to hearts that need healing. You've walked through fire and didn't lose your praise. You've been crushed but not destroyed. You've been silenced but not forsaken. That's why your scars carry weight in the spirit. They testify that you're not speaking from theory, but from survival, from transformation, from resurrection. I am about to display you in a way that causes those who once overlooked your suffering to witness your strength. Not a strength rooted in pride, but in redemption. You will speak from places once broken. You will pour from wells dug in pain. And you will shine not because the pain disappeared, but because I lit a fire in the ashes. No longer will you hide what happened. No longer will you apologize for what you had to survive. I'm lifting you now, not in spite of what you endured, but because of it. Those experiences made room for my glory in your life. They emptied you of false strength so I could fill you with something eternal. What's coming next will not be built on perfection, it will be built on proof. And you, my beloved, are walking proof that grace wins, mercy heals, and scars speak. You will need to explain your process. Your presence will carry the weight of what you've walked through. I'm using your pain as a passport into places others only dream of. Not for attention, but for assignment. You are not disfigured, you are distinguished. Not broken, you are branded. These scars have my signature all over them, and I'm about to showcase what survival looks like when the healer walks beside you. Get ready. The season of hiding your history is over, and now it becomes your weapon. Your scars are proof that even hell couldn't hold you, because I held you first. You've waited long enough for others to agree with what I've already spoken over your life. You've hesitated, second-guessed, and delayed not because you lacked conviction, but because you were taught to believe that validation from people meant confirmation from me. But I am breaking that mindset now. What I am unfolding in you doesn't require a committee, a consensus, or a stamp of approval from those who never saw the depths of your process. I'm not asking anyone else if it's time for your release. I'm declaring it myself. When I call you forward, no opinion has the power to interrupt what I've initiated. You do not need permission to move in what I've already assigned. This next unfolding, this anointing, this access, this favor hath been unlocked by obedience, not popularity. You are not rising by recommendation. You are rising by revelation. And the revelation is this: I chose you and my choosing is final. You don't have to shrink anymore to make others comfortable. You don't have to slow down to match their pace. The doors I'm opening were never meant to be filtered through their understanding. I'm not promoting you because they said yes, I'm doing it because I already said yes before you were formed in your mother's womb. I planted gifts inside you that didn't originate from the approval of man, and they cannot be sustained by it either. You were not created to remain in waiting rooms built by fear and gatekeeping. I am calling you to step into this next chapter with boldness, because I am the author, and the page has already turned. The room you were unsure you belonged in is now your assignment. The platform you doubted was meant for you is now your mission field. The table you were afraid to approach is now the place I'm seating you with undeniable purpose. This isn't about ego, it's about destiny. You're not elevating yourself. I'm exalting what was hidden, purified, and made ready. You endured seasons where you were misunderstood, misjudged, and mislabeled. But none of that has altered my agenda. I'm not requesting approval from those who overlooked you. I'm revealing what they were never equipped to recognize. The silence they mistook for weakness was me building your strength in the secret place. And now, I'm releasing you into visibility, not because they're ready, but because you are. This isn't a public debut. This is a divine dispatch. You're not stepping into something new because others finally accept you. You're stepping into it because I've already established it. And I don't reverse my decisions. What I begin, I sustain. What I plant, I water. What I speak, I perform. So move forward, not arrogantly, but unapologetically. Move in the fullness of the assignment without waiting for applause. Don't delay obedience because of their confusion. I didn't reveal everything to them, because this chapter wasn't for them to initiate, it was for me to authorize. You don't need their validation to be valuable. You need only my voice, and I am speaking now. Go. Create. Speak. Willed. What? Because everything that comes next flows from my approval alone. And I have already said, yes. What you thought was the collapse of your belief was actually the stretching of your capacity. Those moments when you questioned whether you still had faith, when it felt like your prayers were hitting walls, when your heart whispered doubts you never imagined you'd entertain, none of it disqualified you. In fact, attention became the birthplace of something deeper. I was not watching your struggles with disappointment from a distance. I was using them to activate a level of trust that isn't built in comfort, but in the fire of surrender. You didn't fail. You endured. And even when your hope trembled, your spirit still reached for me. That's all I needed. I never asked for perfect confidence. I asked for connection. And you gave me that, even through your pain. Your faith was not fragile, it was just being reshaped for the weight of the next glory. You thought you were drifting, but you were evolving. I allowed the shaking not to destroy your foundation, but to reveal that it had been rooted in me all along. And now that the storm has done its work, your faith has taken on a new structure, one that can't be bent by emotion, one that doesn't need constant confirmation to survive, one that lives beyond surface declarations. What you gained in that wilderness is far more powerful than what you lost. You learned how to follow me without needing to see every step. You discovered how to listen beyond the noise of disappointment. You understood what it meant to choose me, not just when things were clear, but when everything around you screamed confusion. That's what makes your faith unstoppable. It was born through contradiction. I saw when you kept showing up in prayer while feeling nothing. I noticed the nights you opened your Bible, not to impress anyone, but because you wanted one more chance to hear me speak. I was present when you kept praying, even when the atmosphere felt heavy. That's faith. That's power. That's purity. And that's what I'm building on now. Because of that raw, honest, unpolished faith, I am unlocking doors that logic said were closed. I am opening realms of favor that only respond to trust forged through trial. This next move is not coming because you were fearless, it's coming because you were faithful. You didn't run when it would have been easier. You didn't curse me when silence lingered. You didn't turn to substitutes when provision seemed delayed. And even in your weakest moments, you still whispered, "God, I trust you," even if you weren't fully sure how. That confession carried weight in heaven. It moved angels. It shifted atmospheres. And now, I'm releasing strategy, clarity, and supernatural alignment in response to what you cultivated during mid-tension. This is not just reward, it's recognition. I'm honoring what no one else saw. I'm responding to what others didn't understand. I'm proving that faith under pressure births power that cannot be shaken. You'll begin to notice how things unfold faster now, not because you've done more, but because you've believed deeper. Your faith made room for acceleration. Your surrender unlocked upgrades. Your trust created space for me to release what couldn't be carried by surface-level belief. And now, I'm moving. Because your faith didn't fail, it grew wings. And now it's time to fly. The process you thought would take a lifetime is now accelerating under my hand. Not because I am skipping steps, but because I am collapsing time where there was once resistance. What used to require endless waiting is now being compressed into divine moments, and the momentum you're about to feel will not come from striving, it will come from alignment. I'm not just pushing things forward, I'm catching you up to everything that seemed delayed. Where you once saw gradual progress, you will now see sudden shifts. Not because the work was skipped, but because you allowed me to prepare you in the silent spaces. You didn't waste the stillness, you yielded into it. And because of that, I'm collapsing what the enemy hoped would be stretched. Everything you lost to hesitation, confusion, and the warfare of discouragement, I am redeeming it with velocity. I'm not in a rush, but I am moving faster than the systems you've trusted. This speed won't feel frantic. It will feel divine. Doors that normally take years to unlock are swinging wide in hours. Conversations that would have taken months to arrange are landing in your lap without delay. The red tape that held things up is dissolving before you even approach. You won't need to hustle, just walk with me. I am redeeming lost time, missed moments, even paused plans. I know how to reverse cycles and rewrite calendars. I know how to pull what's been buried into your now without needing a single person's help. You're not entering into an ordinary season, you're stepping into an accelerated timeline shaped by obedience, not influence. The pace is shifting because the preparation is complete. You no longer need more time, you need to move in the time I've given you. Your hands are ready. Your heart is steady. And I have already gone ahead. You'll notice how quickly clarity settles, how quickly decisions align, how quickly the atmosphere around you changes, not because you forced it, but because I've declared it. This isn't random speed. This is prophetic urgency. The hour demands it. The assignment requires it. I've seen you wait with patience, fast with sincerity, listen with reverence, and now I'm moving in response to the posture, not just the prayer. You won't be overwhelmed, you will be awakened. And where others struggle to keep up, you'll glide with ease because I am carrying the weight. The burden of building is mine. The grace to walk is yours. Do not be surprised when people say, "How did this happen so fast?" Your answer won't be strategy, it will be surrender. You followed my timing when nothing made sense, and now I'm honoring it with divine speed. Opportunities are coming from directions you never tracked. Solutions are arriving without the chaos. Even what was locked behind years of struggle is being broken open in moments. Not because you found a shortcut, but because you let me take the long way through your spirit. And now that you're aligned, I am accelerating what should have taken decades. This isn't hype, it's holy. This isn't just quick, it's right. Get ready. What's been waiting for you is about to collide with you at full speed. The decision has already been made in the courts of heaven, and now the earthly realm is catching up with what has been authorized above. You will not have to wonder, question, or analyze whether this is from me. It will carry weight, clarity, and undeniable peace. Every detail of this release has been sealed by my hand and is accompanied by an invisible army sent to secure its delivery. This is not a maybe. This is not a potential outcome. This is a decree that carries the force of divine order. I did not allow you to fight through layers of resistance, walk through shadows of uncertainty, and endure prolonged silence just to offer you partial fulfillment. I am not presenting options, I am delivering outcomes. You will not feel hesitant. You will feel wind. A force behind you that moves what you couldn't lift. A sudden lift in places that felt heavy just yesterday. And you will know this is not coincidence. This is movement. What I am doing in these next hours will not resemble past seasons of confusion. The fog is clearing. The tension is breaking. What seemed tangled will now come undone without effort. You'll find yourself stepping into moments that feel strangely prepared, as if the very air around you knew you were coming. That's because it did. I've been speaking to people, systems, atmospheres, giving instructions behind the veil to align circumstances with your assignment. Nothing is random about this. This is what divine endorsement looks like. You won't have to force your way in. You won't have to convince anyone to make space. They'll feel the nudge before you speak. They'll sense the pull without needing your explanation. Because I'm going before you, not in theory, but in tangible manifestation. I'm touching minds, softening resistance, and creating access where none previously existed. Don't be surprised when opportunities appear without the usual process. Don't hesitate when doors open quicker than your schedule expected. I'm accelerating not just for your benefit, but for the impact tied to your obedience. What I placed inside you has an urgency on it. The assignment attached to your life is too significant to wait for conventional timing. So I'm moving now. I'm moving fast. And I'm bringing heaven with me. You'll feel the shift emotionally, spiritually, physically. Your energy will shift. Your clarity will sharpen. Your spirit will sense what your mind can't comprehend. And it will all confirm what I already spoke. The release is not pending. It's happening. You will feel the backing of heaven itself, the kind of covering that makes it impossible to fail. Not because everything will be easy, but because I have already made the way. You'll know it when things fall into place with zero striving. You'll sense it when what used to be difficult now responds with favor. This isn't because of who you know, it's because of what I said. I don't just speak ideas, I establish realities. And this release is not just timely, it's sovereign. Prepare yourself, not just in routine but in expectation. Position your heart to receive more than you plan for. Because what's arriving isn't based on merit, it's born from covenant. And my covenant never returns void. You're walking into evidence. You're about to witness delivery. Not in years, not in months, but in hours. You'll know it when it touches your life, and nothing will ever feel the same again. What lies ahead of you is not a repeat of what you've already walked through. It is a rise from everything you endured. And it comes with authority gained through fire-tested surrender. This next step isn't a reset. It's a reintroduction. I am not returning you to where you began. I'm launching you from where you overcame. Every battle you thought delayed your life was actually building a staircase to the level you're now stepping into. You are not at the beginning, you are standing at the threshold of acceleration birthed from resilience. The false belief that you are starting from scratches, being broken now. I never asked you to go backward. I only asked you to be still while I built the foundation beneath you. And now, the elevation is here not because you pushed harder, but because you trusted deeper. This is not about going back to prove yourself, it's about moving forward because I've already proven myself in you. The weight of your history is not a chain, it's a crown. You carry understanding now that can't be shaken by the same storms that once knocked you down. You've gained discernment. You've gained spiritual strength. You've learned to move without the need for applause and to obey without needing a full explanation. That's not starting over, that's maturity ascending into manifestation. I am setting you above not just in status but in perspective. You're going to see things clearer, navigate spaces wiser, and walk with confidence that no longer flinches under pressure. What took you months to discern before you'll recognize in moments. Where you once hesitated, you'll now respond with divine certainty. And it's not because the road is easier, it's because you're no longer walking it as the same person. The version of you that once questioned if you were worthy has been replaced with one that knows you were chosen. The insecurities that made you shrink will no longer survive in the atmosphere I'm bringing you into. The rooms you're about to enter were designed for the version of you that's emerged, not the one who doubted, but the one who decided to stay the course anyway. This elevation didn't come without cost, but now it carries the evidence of oil pressed through obedience. I have already placed you in their sight, not to seek their validation, but to make space for impact. They will wonder how you rose so quickly, unaware of how long you've been hidden, being prepared, being tested, being refined. You were narrow, you were preserved. And now I'm setting you apart, not as an echo of others, but as a voice born through intimacy with me. This new beginning will feel unfamiliar because you're not just walking, you're soaring. The spiritual weight you now carry will make things move without resistance. You won't have to chase what's aligned. It will recognize you because heaven already introduced you before you arrived. Don't minimize what I'm doing to make others feel comfortable. Don't dull your light to match old environments that can't handle your shine. I didn't elevate you for approval, I lifted you for purpose. And I trust you with it. You're not rebuilding from ruins, you're building from revelation. You know now what can't be shaken. You know what to leave behind and what to carry forward. That wisdom is your weapon. That discernment is your key. You're not being restored to where you were, you're being released into where I always intended. This is not recovery, it's release. So take your place boldly, because where I'm taking you is not familiar ground. It's holy ground. And you are ready. There are systems, patterns, and unseen agreements that we're operating quietly behind the scenes, working to delay, detour, and diminish what I've placed inside you. But now, I am releasing a level of favor that doesn't just open new doors, it dismantles every force that functioned to keep you out. This is not passive favor. It is disruptive. It will interrupt the normal flow of resistance that you've grown used to. You've walked through seasons where everything felt like an uphill climb, where progress was earned inch by inch, and even small victories came with heavy opposition. But I'm shifting the terrain beneath your feet. I'm placing something on you that doesn't ask permission to flow. It will go before you, speak for you, and clear the path that once seemed impossible. The favor I'm placing on you carries my authority. It overrides what was previously considered immovable. Where you were once overlooked, you will now be sought after. Where your voice was once dismissed, it will now carry influence. The favor I've assigned to your life will begin to reverse every pattern of rejection and confusion that once surrounded you. It won't just enhance your name, it will silence the resistance. Every force that thought it could delay you will have to bow to the force of my favor. You won't need to explain yourself or defend your worth. The evidence will speak louder than any voice raised against you. It will be in the way opportunities arrive without delay, in the way strangers extend kindness for no reason, in the way barriers fall without negotiation. I am placing such clarity on your life that even your enemies will be forced to acknowledge that something divine is working on your behalf. This favor will confuse those who only measure progress by qualifications. It will defy logic. It will surpass your experience and education. Because this favor isn't based on earthly systems, it flows from my throne, released through covenant, sealed in grace. You didn't earn it. You aligned for it. You kept walking when it made no sense. You remained faithful when silence lingered. You honored me even when it hurt. That posture invited this release. And now I am surrounding you with what no human hand can block. It will go ahead of you in conversations. It will sit on your name long before you arrive. It will soften the ground before your feet touch it. And anything that tries to rise against it will be confronted not by you but by me. This favor isn't seasonal, it's strategic. It's meant to sustain you in unfamiliar places, to distinguish you where you've never been known, to establish you in realms you once felt unqualified to enter. You'll find yourself standing in spaces you never thought possible, not because you strived, but because I stretched. You will feel the rhythm shift from striving to flowing, from chasing to receiving. What used to take years will now come in sudden waves. What was once denied will now be presented without effort, and you will know it's not manipulation, it's favor. Don't shrink when it starts showing up. Don't apologize for how quickly things begin to align. This isn't luck. It's divine intervention. I've wrapped you in something that can't be earned in a boardroom or manufactured by man. It comes from walking with me, trusting me, surrendering when you could have resisted. This is your reward not for perfection, but for persistence. And it will not fade. It will follow you, surround you, rest on you, and fight for you. Watch how it interrupts every plan formed against you. Watch how it reverses every pattern meant to limit you. Because my favor doesn't just bless, it breaks barriers. And it's on you now. This next phase of your journey will not resemble anything you've walked through before, not because the atmosphere around you suddenly became easier, but because I've changed what happens when you move. Where you once saw small results after great effort, now you will witness exponential outcomes born from simple obedience. I've shifted the weight of your labor into the realm of multiplication. No longer will you have to convince, strive, or stretch beyond your capacity to see fruit. I'm placing a blessing on the work of your hands that causes the minimal to expand, the overlooked to flourish, and the quiet efforts to echo loudly. You will start to notice that what once required long seasons now happens in short moments. What seemed to grow slowly before will now accelerate without being forced. And it's not because you've suddenly become more skilled, it's because I've placed my mark on everything you do from this point forward. Pay close attention to what begins to bloom around you. Even the areas you considered barren are responding differently now. Even the ideas you dismissed before are carrying weight now. You'll return to something that failed in a prior season and find it thriving because the time has changed, and so has the anointing resting on you. You're stepping into the kind of grace that doesn't just provide, it multiplies. The seeds you've sown in secret, in silence, with tears and uncertainty, are now receiving my breath, and when my breath touches what you've planted, it can't stay small. Expect it. Expect overflow in places where you previously only saw fragments. Expect divine momentum to sweep through the plans you nearly gave up on. Expect solutions to flow where there used to be blockage. This isn't natural, it's supernatural alignment. I'm establishing a pattern in your life where whatever your hands engage with, as long as they remain surrendered to me, will bear fruit without limitation. You'll feel it even in the simple things, how ideas form quickly, how partnerships develop effortlessly, how resources come without begging. I'm sending provision attached to purpose, not performance. You don't have to do more to deserve it, you just have to walk in it. I've already decided to bless what you touch, because your heart posture is ready to carry the weight of it with humility. You've shown me you can be trusted not with crowds, but with character. And now, I'm turning that trust into tangible increase. You will also begin to see how others are impacted by what flows from your life. Your obedience will activate blessings in their direction. Your words will stir healing. Your presence will trigger breakthrough. This is not because you are flawless, it's because you are yielded. When I find someone willing to walk closely with me, I place a mantle on them that affects everything and everyone around them. And that's what you're walking in now. Multiplication that doesn't just touch your home, but your atmosphere. Favor that overflows into the lives of those who thought they were overlooked. Increase that cannot be traced back to strategy, only surrender. To watch. Watch how quickly things evolve. Watch how suddenly things grow. Watch how every detail responds to my hand moving through yours. I didn't call you to settle, I called you to expand. And from this point forward, expansion is not something you chase. It's something that follows you. Because I've spoken a word over your life, and that word is multiply. The season of explaining your worth, justifying your obedience, or trying to validate the unseen battles you've endured is coming to a close. You've been carrying the weight of misunderstanding for far too long, misread motives, overlooked effort, unseen sacrifice, and it's left you tired in places words can't reach. But I want you to hear me clearly now. You will not need to prove anything. You will not have to defend the purity of your intentions or the depth of your faith any longer. I am stepping in to show what only I can. I am lifting the curtain on what has been quietly built in the dark. I will reveal what was developing in the silence. Not to elevate your ego, but to confirm what I authored in you when no one else could see it. They didn't see the nights you prayed without language. They didn't witness the moments you chose humility over retaliation. They weren't there when you fought through disappointment with trembling faith. But I was. And now I'm going to let them see, not through performance, not through manipulation, but through undeniable fruit. The results of your consistency, your integrity, and your surrender are about to speak louder than any argument ever could. I am the one who elevates, and when I lift a life, I do it in a way that cannot be undone. You won't have to push for visibility. You won't have to explain how you got there. They'll look at the evidence and know it wasn't man, it was me. Let go of the pressure to be understood. That is not your assignment. Your job is to remain faithful, and my job is to reveal the impact. The people who once dismissed you will have no choice but to acknowledge the shift they can't explain. They will sense the change before they hear it. They will feel the authority on you before you open your mouth. Because I am placing something on your life that exposes the difference between self-made and God-placed. You didn't get here by chasing approval, you got here by walking closely with me. And now, that intimacy is becoming influence. Not influence for applause, but influence for impact. Every accusation that tried to stick will fall powerless in the presence of my confirmation. Every assumption made about you will be overturned by undeniable manifestation. I don't need to correct your critics, I will outpour through your life until their words become irrelevant. You don't need to shout louder. Just walk boldly. Just move with the confidence of someone who knows heaven is backing them. Because I am. And when I back a person, no platform is too small and no opposition is too large to stop what I've set in motion. Even now, I am working behind the scenes, flipping narratives, reversing judgments, preparing atmospheres. You will walk into places where they once questioned you, and you will find yourself being celebrated not because you changed it, but because I revealed what they couldn't see. Don't try to explain. Don't strive to clarify. Just rest in this. I will make it visible. I will make it undeniable. I will make it loud, not with noise but with results. The very ones who said, "Who do you think you are?" will find themselves asking, "How did this happen?" And you'll answer with peace, not pride. You'll carry it with humility, not hesitation. Because you will know it wasn't about proving yourself to them. It was about proving your surrender to me. And that is what I am honoring now. Your silence was never weakness. It was strength under restraint. Your obedience was never in vain. It was the key to this moment. And now let me speak for you. Let me reveal what was always real. The proof is coming. The wait is ending. And when they see it, they'll know it could only be God. The hours ahead carry more than just passing time, they carry divine transition. Not a symbolic one, not a subtle one, but a tangible and unmistakable shift that will reach you even before the clock completes its cycle. You've been sensing something in your spirit without having the words to define it, a stirring, a pull, a heightened awareness that something is nearing. That sense wasn't random. It was me preparing your heart for a supernatural shift that begins unfolding tonight. Not next month. Not sometime later. I'm talking about movement that starts before the final hour strikes. You don't need to force it, you need only to remain expectant. I'm not asking for performance. I'm calling you into position. Posture your heart with faith, because this shift is not determined by what you feel, it's initiated by what I've already spoken. In these next moments, you'll begin to notice little things realigning, answers coming through sources you had given up on, doors moving slightly that had been tightly shut, sudden clarity on something that's kept you confused, or peace blanketing situations where anxiety once lived. These aren't just coincidences. These are indicators, evidence, reminders that I do not slumber, and I am not late. I'm moving exactly when I intended, and that moment is now. Before this day closes, I will begin to roll back the veil that's hidden progress. You'll be able to sense things breaking loose before they arrive in full. It may come through a message you weren't expecting, a phone call that shifts the trajectory, a document you thought was lost, or even a nudge in your soul that brings you into motion. Do not dismiss these small signs. They are the beginning of something massive. They are confirmation that what you prayed for is not only on the way, it's touching earth now. You've waited through silent seasons, watched others step into their moments while you wondered if yours was delayed. You've stood with open hands while it seemed like nothing ever fell into place. But what you didn't know is that I've been orchestrating something so precise, so intentional, that even the timing of your tears was factored into the release of your breakthrough. What I'm doing in this hour isn't last minute. It's on time by heaven's clock. Every delay had purpose. Every pause carried preparation. And now, every minute leading to midnight carries the weight of fulfillment. Don't go to sleep tonight doubting. Don't lie down questioning whether I heard you. Rest, but rest with expectation, because something is already moving toward you. And as the day ends, something new will quietly begin. This shift will not scream, it will settle. It will land like peace in your chest, like courage you didn't know you still had, like an invisible hand pushing you toward what you were born for. And once it begins, it will not stop. This isn't a fleeting moment. This is the initial drop in a ripple that will stretch far beyond your current season. What you're stepping into before the clock resets will follow you into every room I've prepared, every conversation I've ordained, every territory I'm assigning. So don't underestimate tonight. Don't overlook the quiet changes. What begins now will carry weight later. There will be no announcement from the sky, but heaven will make sure your spirit hears it. The shift won't ask permission, it's already been approved. The chains that once defined your yesterday are snapping under the authority of my word over your life. The struggle you thought would never end is beginning to unravel as you read this. And by the time the next day breaks, you will already know in your heart, something just changed. You won't need to explain it to anyone. Just watch. Just listen. Just stay available. The shift begins before midnight, and nothing will ever be the same again. Everything I've been preparing, aligning, shielding, and securing is now converging at this very moment, not tomorrow, not someday in the future, but right now. The wait is over because the process has matured. The tests have served their purpose. The pruning, the silence, the hidden tears, and the long nights of not knowing what comes next have all been leading here. I'm not holding back what I already placed my approval on. This is your moment not because it's convenient, but because it's divinely scheduled. You're not stepping into something uncertain. You're stepping into what's already been affirmed by heaven. There are no more layers of delay. No more cycles of preparation. You're not circling the same mountain again, you're stepping through a new gate that has been waiting for your arrival. You've wondered if you were really ready. You've questioned if you missed your window. You've replayed old moments in your head, worried that what you lost disqualified what you hoped for. But let me silence that torment. Nothing has been wasted. Nothing you've surrendered has been overlooked. And no mistake has canceled what I authored. What I've approved is sealed. And what I seal, no one can revoke. This moment is not the result of chance. It's the reward of endurance. The birthing of purpose. The answer to the cries you thought I didn't hear. This is not just a new opportunity, it's the unveiling of something I've kept preserved for such a time as this. You will feel it begin to unfold before you even see it fully manifest. The pressure that lingered in your chest will ease. The heaviness that sat over your vision will lift. Conversations will suddenly shift in your favor. Invitations will appear without you needing to campaign for them. The silence that made you feel unseen will break, and recognition will arrive, not because of who knows your name, but because I am calling it. You won't need to force this moment to happen. It's already been unlocked. And now, you're stepping into alignment, not striving. You're receiving from overflow. not scarcity. You're walking into what has been prepared, not what you have to manufacture with your own strength. I want you to see this clearly. The battles you faced weren't a punishment. They were indicators that something significant was being guarded. The intensity of the pressure only confirmed the magnitude of what was coming. That's why the warfare was so relentless, because what I have for you is weighty, valuable, dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. And now that the resistance has been overruled, the fullness of my promise is being released. The doors are not just opening, they are staying open. The favor you're walking in is not temporary, it's sustained. The opportunities you're about to see aren't fragile, they are fortified by my word. So don't second guess this. Don't ask me if it's too soon or wonder if you're qualified. You've already been prepared in silence, forged in fire, and purified through surrender. You didn't get here by shortcuts, you got here by staying when it hurt, praying when it was dry, and trusting when it made no sense. I saw it all. I collected every sacrifice. I honored every quiet yes. And this moment is my response. Not delayed, not watered down, not borrowed. This is your moment. Heaven is not debating it. I'm not waiting on votes. I'm not looking for approval. I already said yes. And now the earth is catching up to what heaven already decided. This is where the shift becomes permanent. This is where the promises take form. This is where the storyline changes for good. Don't be surprised when things begin moving faster, clearer, stronger. That's not momentum, it's my wind. It's the breath of my spirit carrying you into everything you were born to walk in. No more delay. No more doubt. No more diminishing your light to fit into old places. Rise now. This is your moment. And I'm not pulling it back. I'm pushing it forward straight into your hands. Amen.